The war was over. The humans had won, and as a reward for victory, the alien leaders offered gifts to the human commanders, trophies of war, captured prisoners, or rare alien tech. But Commander Jace Raylan didn't expect what he received. She was small, thin, and covered in bruises, with glowing blue eyes and pale silver skin. A chain was wrapped around her wrist, and 2 alien guards pushed her forward like an animal. "She is yours," said the alien general coldly. "A servant for your pleasure or labor, our way of showing honor." Jace looked at the girl. No, she wasn't a girl. She was a young alien woman, shaking, eyes wide with fear. She didn't look dangerous, only scared. He didn't say a word. He nodded, accepted the gift, and took her back to his private quarters. The door closed behind them. Silence filled the room. The alien girl stood still, not even blinking, like she was waiting for pain. Jace walked over and gently removed the chain from her wrist. "You're free now," he said quietly. The girl didn't move. She didn't understand. He didn't expect her to. He placed food on the table, pointed to the bed, then walked out to give her space. He didn't lock the door. He didn't give orders. The next day, she was still there. She had eaten nothing. She had not touched the bed. She sat in the corner, knees to her chest, eyes watching the door, the walls, every movement with suspicion. Jace tried speaking again. "You don't have to serve me," he said. "I won't hurt you." Still no answer. He didn't force her to respond. He left the room quietly. Word spread fast across the ship. "Did you hear? Commander Rylan got a slave and isn't even using her. What's he doing? Feeding her like a pet?" "He's going soft." Jace ignored the whispers. He was used to being judged, but something about this situation was different. He remembered being a prisoner once, years ago, when the enemy tied him to a wall and treated him like dirt. He remembered how it felt to be helpless. Maybe that's why he couldn't see her as a thing. That night, Jace walked into his quarters and saw the food untouched again. But something was different. The girl was gone from the corner. His eyes scanned the room, and then he saw her, hiding behind the storage locker. She stared at him, not with anger, but confusion. He didn't approach her. He simply sat down on the floor, leaned against the wall, and sighed. "I don't know your name," he said softly. "And I don't know what they told you about humans." Silence. "I just want you to know you're safe here." The girl stepped out slowly, 1 foot at a time. Her voice was dry and soft when she finally whispered one word. "Why?" Jace looked up, surprised she had spoken. "Because you're not an object," he replied. "You're a person." Tears formed in her glowing blue eyes. She ran back behind the locker and didn't come out again. The next few days passed the same. She said nothing else, but she started eating the food. She stopped hiding during the day, and once, Jace saw her watching him from the corner while he read reports. He smiled at her. She quickly looked away. One afternoon, another officer barged into Jace's quarters. "Commander, you're making a mistake," said Captain Rivas. "That alien's dangerous. She could kill you in your sleep." Jace stood firm. "She's not a threat. She's a slave, sir. You think she understands kindness?" "I think she's learning," Jace replied. Captain Rivas shook his head. "The others are talking. They think you've gone soft or worse." "I don't care what they think," Jace said, voice cold. "She's not my enemy." Later that night, Jace found the alien girl sitting on the floor near the window, watching the stars. He walked over slowly and sat down beside her. "They call me Jace," he said gently. "What do they call you?" The girl was quiet, but then whispered, "Leary." He smiled. "Nice to meet you, Leary." She didn't smile back, but she didn't run either. It was a start. Jace knew he had broken a rule. Not on paper, but in spirit. The galaxy was built on power, on control, on winners and losers. But he refused to play that game. They had given him a slave, but he saw someone broken. Someone scared, someone worth saving. And that small choice to show mercy, not dominance, was about to change everything. Even if no one else believed it yet. The ship was quiet. Most of the crew had gone to sleep. Only the soft hum of the engines and flickering lights remained. But Leary was awake. She moved like a shadow in the dark. Her bare feet made no sound against the cold metal floor. She wasn't escaping. She was watching, every night. After Jace had gone to bed, she would silently step out of her corner and explore the room, touching strange objects, smelling unfamiliar things, trying to understand this strange world she'd been thrown into. Books, a jacket hanging near the door, a strange object called a toothbrush. She was careful not to leave anything out of place, but she always returned to her spot before dawn. She didn't know why. She could have run. He never locked the door, but something about Jace kept her there, something she had never felt before. Kindness. Jace knew she moved at night. He wasn't stupid. The way things shifted slightly, the soft sound of the floor at midnight, he noticed, but said nothing. He didn't want to scare her. He just hoped she was starting to feel safe. The next morning, Jace left early to attend a meeting. Captain Rivas was already waiting. Rivas crossed his arms. "Still keeping the alien girl as your pet?" Jace sighed. "She's not a pet, she's a person, Commander. It's not your job to fix broken aliens. She's not one of us. She never will be." "She doesn't have to be one of us," Jace said. "She just needs a chance." Rivas narrowed his eyes. "And what if she stabs you in your sleep?" Jace didn't answer. Instead, he walked out. But the conversation followed him like a shadow. Leary stood near the window, watching stars blink in the distance. She liked the stars. They didn't judge her. They didn't beat her. They just existed free. And far away, her hands tightened as she remembered her old life. Her chains, her cell, the whispers from the other slaves. "Don't trust the humans. They lie, they hurt." But Jace hadn't lied. He hadn't raised his hand or his voice, not once, still. She couldn't understand why that night. She waited until the lights dimmed again. She crept out and walked closer to the center of the room. Jace was asleep on his bed, breathing slow and steady. She stared at him for a long time, then whispered the same word again, "Why?" To her surprise, he answered, "I'm awake," he said softly, not moving. "I heard you." She froze. "I don't know how to explain." He continued, eyes still closed. "I just believe. No one deserves to be treated like a thing." Silence filled the air. Then Leary whispered, "You are not like the others." He opened his eyes and looked at her. "I could say the same about you," he said with a small smile. The next day, whispers moved through the halls like wildfire. She spoke to him. "She's coming out of the room. Maybe she's controlling him?" Some crew members began to grow afraid. Others grew angry. "She's dangerous," they said. "This is how it starts. One kind gesture, then betrayal." Jace was warned again and again. He didn't care. He had made his choice. Later that night, Jace returned to his quarters and found something new. Leary had placed a small cup of water on the table beside his chair. He blinked, surprised. She looked away, clearly nervous, but he smiled. "Thank you." She sat on the floor, still distant, but not hiding anymore. They sat in silence, side by side, not as master and slave, but as two lost souls trying to understand each other. One evening, Leary spoke again, more than just a word this time. "My people. We were taken," she said slowly. "Our colony was destroyed. Those who survived were sold like tools." Jace listened without interrupting. "I was told to obey or be punished," she said, her voice shaking. "But you confuse me. Why?" he asked gently. "Because you didn't hurt me," she whispered. "You could have, but you didn't." Jace nodded. No one should live in fear forever. The next day, something unexpected happened. A technician named Maiko approached Jace in the hallway. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" She asked. "Go ahead," Jace replied. "I saw her," Maiko said. "The alien girl. Leary. What about her?" She smiled, just for a second. Jace raised an eyebrow. "She did?" "Yes, sir," Maiko said. "And I think she's healing." Jay said nothing, but inside he felt something warm. Maybe others would start to see what he saw, maybe not, but it didn't matter. He had started something no one expected, and it wasn't over yet. The ship shook, not from an enemy attack but a systems drill. Without warning, the lights turned red, sirens blared, and emergency shutters sealed across the hallways. Inside his quarters, Commander Jace Ryland jumped from his bed and hit the wall. "Panel, lockdown protocol activated," the computer said in a calm voice. "Please remain in your current location until further notice." Jace sighed and ran a hand through his hair. He was trapped in his room, and so was Leary. She had been sitting quietly near the corner, studying an old datapad he had left for her. But when the alarm rang and the walls sealed, her body froze like stone. Her eyes widened, hands shaking, breath quick and shallow. Jace turned and saw her panic. "Hey, it's okay," he said, kneeling beside her. "It's just a drill, not an attack." But she didn't hear him. In her mind, alarms meant cages, red lights meant pain, sealed doors meant punishment. She backed away, her legs hitting the wall, her voice rising in fear. "I didn't disobey. I didn't disobey." Jace reached out slowly. "Leary, you're not in trouble." She covered her head, her entire body trembling. "Please, no more chains, no more chains." Jace sat down right there on the floor, inches away, but didn't touch her. Instead, he started to speak, not loud, not soft, just calm. "There was a time," he said, "when I was chained too." Leary stopped breathing for a moment. She peeked out between her fingers. "I was captured during the war," he continued, eyes staring at nothing. "Tied up, starved, mocked. Every day felt like forever." Leary stared at him. "You?" she whispered. "A prisoner?" He nodded. Slowly. "Yeah, they said I wasn't a person, just a problem to break." She moved a little closer, still cautious. "What did you do?" she asked. "I survived," Jace replied. "And when I got out, I swore I'd never treat anyone like that ever." For a long moment, the only sound was the low hum of the engines. Then Leary let her arms drop. She crawled forward slowly, sitting beside him, still silent, still scared, but closer. The lockdown ended 10 minutes later. The doors slid open with a hiss, normal lights returned, and the voice announced, "All systems restored," but neither of them moved. Jace sat still. Leary sat beside him, not as strangers, but something else, something new. The next day, Leary spoke more than she ever had before. "My father was a singer," she said, eyes far away. "He used to hum songs to us before sleep." Jace nodded, listening. "I had a brother and a younger sister," she continued, voice soft. "They took them away. I never saw them again." "I'm sorry," Jace said. Leary looked at him. "Do humans lose family too?" He nodded. "More than you'd think." She was quiet again, then whispered, "I wish I could hear his songs again." Jace didn't know what to say, so he did something else. He picked up a small music device from his desk, pressed play, and a soft human lullaby filled the room. Leary closed her eyes, and for the first time since she came aboard, she looked at peace. But peace couldn't last forever. Outside his quarters, things were changing. Surveillance logs had been flagged. Security noticed the time Leary spent roaming inside his room at night. They didn't see healing, they saw a risk. A secret report was sent to command. Commander Jace Ryland's behavior with alien subject may threaten protocol. Emotional attachment suspected. Security breach potential high. Within hours, an order came back. Prepare to transfer the alien to isolation for observation. They were coming for her. Jace read the message and felt his chest tighten. He had tried to protect her, to help her heal, but now they were treating her like a threat again. He couldn't let them take her. He walked into his quarters, trying to stay calm. Leary stood near the window, watching stars. Her voice was quiet. "They're coming, aren't they?" Jace froze. "How did you know?" "I heard the walls speak," she said softly, pointing to the blinking terminal on his desk. "I understand some words now." She turned to him. her eyes no longer afraid. "Just sad I should go," she whispered, "before they hurt you." "Two." Jace shook his head. "No, I won't let them take you." She looked up at him, shocked. "Why?" she asked again. He smiled faintly. "Because you're not a threat, Leary. You're my friend." Her lips trembled, not knowing how to respond. Then she stepped forward and gently placed her hand over his chest, right where his heart beat. Then, "I will stay," she said quietly, "until they force me to leave," as Jace stood there with her. He realized something. He had broken the chain, not just hers, but the invisible one inside him too. The one that said aliens could never be family, that kindness was weakness, that peace was impossible, and in that small moment, something powerful was born. Hope *. The ship's corridors felt colder now. Not because of the temperature, but because of the stairs. Everywhere Commander Jace Raylan walked, whispers followed. He didn't need to hear the words. They were always the same. "That's the officer with the alien. He's protecting her like she's human. Maybe he's not one of us anymore." Jace kept walking, straight-faced, calm on the outside, but inside, a storm was growing. The official notice from High Command sat unopened on his datapad. He didn't need to read it. He already knew. What it said: "You are ordered to turn over the alien subject for military testing." Inside his quarters, Leary was sitting at the edge of the bed, her hands folded on her lap. She had learned to keep herself neat, quiet, small, but today, she looked different, stronger. Her glowing eyes stared at the wall as if she could see through it. She knew something had changed. Jace sat across from her, rubbing his hands together. "They want to move you," he said, his voice steady but heavy. "They say it's for safety. But that's not the truth." Leary didn't blink. "They think I'm a danger." "Yes," he said, "but it's not because of what you've done." "Then why?" she asked softly. Jace looked down. "Because I treated you like an equal that night." Someone knocked hard on his door. It wasn't a polite knock. It was military. He opened the door to find Captain Rivas standing with 2 guards. "Commander," Rivas said coldly, "by order of the fleet, we're here to escort the alien to holding." Jace stood still, blocking the doorway. "She's not a threat," he said firmly. "She hasn't harmed anyone." "This isn't a discussion," Rivas snapped. "Your emotional involvement has clouded your judgment." Jace's jaw tightened. "She's not going," he said. "You're refusing an order from command?" Rivas asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's treason." Behind him, the guards reached for their weapons, and then a voice came from behind Jace. "I'll go." Leary stepped forward, her hands raised peacefully. Jace turned, eyes wide. "No. You don't have to." "I do," she said, looking at him. "If I stay, they'll hurt you." He shook his head. "I don't care what they do to me." "I do," she whispered. Then, without another word, she stepped past him and stood before the guards. Rivas gave a smug nod. "Smart choice." They walked her down the corridor, surrounded by silence. Jace watched her go. Something in his chest broke. Hours passed. He paced his quarters like a caged animal. Mind spinning. He knew what they'd do to her. Tests, interrogations, maybe even worse. And all because he chose compassion over protocol. But Leary wasn't done. Inside the holding room, she sat silently on the metal bench, staring at the camera in the corner. She knew they were watching. She also knew Jace had risked everything for her. She had to do something. She looked at the panel on the wall. Standard tech, outdated by 2 years. Her people may have been beaten, but they were brilliant. She reached toward the console, pressed her hand to the side, and began to hum a frequency known only to her kind. A few seconds later, the panel blinked. A connection opened. A direct signal across space. She sent one message. "I am alive. The human who holds me does not harm me. He treats me with honor. Do not attack." Then she closed the signal. The alien elders had to know the truth, even if she never left that room again. Meanwhile, Jace stormed into the command center. "Where is she?" he demanded. "She's secure," said Rivas, standing calmly. "She be fine." If you step aside. Jace slammed a hand on the console. She did nothing wrong. No, Rivas replied. But you did. He handed over a datapad. Commander Jace Rylan is officially under investigation for failure to follow military code and emotional compromise regarding alien prisoners. Jace didn't even read it. Instead, he asked one question. Are you going to hurt her? Rivas smirked. We're going to study her, unless her people come looking for her. Jace's eyes narrowed. You want a war? If it gets us better weapons, maybe, Rivas shrugged. Jace turned without a word. His mind was already making a new plan back in the holding cell. Leary stared at the camera again. Then the door opened. She stood, expecting more guards, but instead, it was Jace. He had bypassed the security systems, wearing a stolen officer badge. She looked at him, confused. How? He smiled. You forget, I used to break out of enemy prisons. But if they catch you, they already think I'm guilty, he said, stepping closer. So I might as well act like it. He held out his hand. Leary took it. Together, they ran down the halls, past the silent walls, not to escape, but to be free. Alarms rang again, but this time it wasn't a drill. Security teams raced down the corridors of the fleet cruiser Vanguard 1. Code red, the alert repeated. Unauthorized prisoner escape. Commander Jace Rylan and Leary ran through narrow service tunnels, lights flashing behind them. Their breath came in sharp bursts, but neither slowed down. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Jace knew he had just made himself a criminal. Leary knew they had little time before capture, but she also knew something else. The message she sent earlier? It had gone through. They reached an unused cargo bay near the ship's lower deck. Jace sealed the door behind them and jammed the security panel. No one will find us for a while, he said, breathing hard. They don't monitor this part anymore. Leary looked around. The room was dark, full of old crates, dust, and forgotten tools. This won't last, she said, her voice calm. You'll be punished for this. I've been punished before, Jace replied with a faint grin. I got used to it. Leary stepped closer to him. I sent a message, she said. He blinked. To who? My people, she said quietly. Not the army, the council elders. The ones who remember who we used to be. Jace stared at her. What did you tell them? He asked. That a human saved me, she answered. That you refused to hurt me and treated me like family. Far beyond the ship, on a peaceful green moon orbiting a purple gas giant. Her signal reached its destination. The alien council gathered in silence. They watched the hologram she sent, her face tired but clear, her voice shaking but strong. They took me as a slave, Leary said in the recording, but this human he gave me back my name. He saw me, not as a weapon, but as someone worth saving. Some of the elders wept quietly. Others stared at each other in disbelief. This is proof, one said. Not all humans are monsters. Then what do we do? Another asked. Send a ship, the elder leader replied. Not with weapons, but with truth. Back on Vanguard 1, the command center was chaos. They escaped through maintenance tunnels, Rivas barked. They had help. We'll find out who. A technician waved him over. Sir, we're receiving a long-range signal. It's from outside our territory. Rivas narrowed his eyes. Pirates? No, sir. It's from Leary's homeworld. What do they want? He asked. The message played across the screen. A calm voice spoke. We are coming not for war, but for peace. We demand to speak with Commander Jace Rylan and the one you call Leary. Rivas clenched his jaw. This is a trap, he said. They want her back to silence her, but others in the room weren't so sure. The alien voice hadn't sounded angry, it sounded sincere. Meanwhile, in the cargo bay, Leary sat beside Jace on an old crate. She stared at her hands, as if remembering the chains that were once there. I never thought anyone would listen, she said. Jace looked at her. You didn't just speak for yourself, Leary. You spoke for everyone still in chains. She blinked. You really think that message mattered? Jace nodded. I think you just started something bigger than both of us. A quiet beep echoed from the emergency radio Jace had hidden in his vest. He clicked it on. A voice spoke. Low and tense. Commander Rylan, this is Lieutenant Vera. I don't know what's true anymore, but a ship from Leary's homeworld is approaching. They're asking for you. Jace and Leary looked at each other. This was it. Later, in the hangar bay, Rivas stood with armed soldiers, waiting. The alien ship hovered above the deck, long and graceful, glowing softly with blue lights. Unlike their warships, this one was peaceful, no weapons raised. A single ramp lowered. Two tall aliens stepped down. One was old, with silver markings across his face. The other was younger, eyes sharp but calm. I am Elder Ruhan, the older alien said. And this is my speaker, Ale. Rivas stepped forward. You will return the prisoner to us, he said harshly. Ale replied. She was never yours to begin with. We'll treat this as a threat. Ruhan raised a hand. We are not here to fight. We are here because of the message she sent. Moments later, Jace and Leary entered the bay from the side entrance, escorted by Vera, who had chosen to break orders. Gasps filled the room. The council members saw her and bowed. My child, Ruhan said. Gently, you are not forgotten. Leary's voice cracked. I thought I was lost. You were, he said. But now, you are found. Jace stepped forward, unsure if he should speak, but Ruhan turned to him. You gave her more than safety, the elder said. You gave her dignity. You gave us hope. Rivas interrupted, furious. This man disobeyed orders. He betrayed his own people. But Ale responded calmly. Then maybe his people need better orders. Jace expected to be arrested. He was ready for it. But instead, something unexpected happened. One by one, officers in the hangar lowered their weapons. Then Vera spoke. Maybe this isn't treason. Maybe this is how peace starts. That night, Jace sat beside Leary in a small observation room as the stars drifted past the glass. I think your message changed more than just minds, he said. Leary smiled her first. Real smile since they met. I just told the truth, she replied, and that was enough. The alien ship stayed in orbit above Vanguard 1, glowing like a silent star. No weapons raised, no threats made, but tension filled every corner of the human fleet. Some believed peace was coming. Others were sure war was just being delayed, Commander. Jace Ryland stood in the observation deck, arms folded, eyes locked on the alien cruiser in the sky. Leary stood beside him, quiet, her silver skin glowing faintly under the lights below them. Humans and aliens prepared for the first meeting in history that wasn't about battle, but something far more dangerous. Understanding, Captain Rivas burst into the command room. We can't allow this, he snapped. Letting aliens aboard our ship? It's a risk we can't take. Fleet Admiral Karen looked over the report again. The alien delegation made no demands, no threats. They only asked for one thing. To speak with Jace and Leary, she said, lowering the tablet. Rivas scoffed. You trust them? Karen paused. I don't, she said. But I trust what I saw in that message. The girl. She wasn't a soldier. She was a victim. And Jace, she added. He made a choice when no one else would. The hangar was cleared. Security remained tight. Weapons hidden but ready. Jace and Leary stood at the center as the alien vessel slowly landed, its ramps lowering once more. 3 alien elders stepped down this time. Elder Ruhan, Ale the speaker, and a new one, tall and stern-eyed, wearing ceremonial robes. The humans watched in silence. Elder Ruhan approached slowly and bowed his head. Commander Jace Rylan, he said respectfully. You may not know it, but you have already begun what our people never could. Jace gave a short nod. I didn't do it for politics. I did it for her. The tall alien beside Ruhan stepped forward. I am Genvil, of the Truth Keepers, he said, voice deep and sharp. And I speak for those who still believe war is the only answer. Jace narrowed his eyes. So you're not here for peace? I am here to be proven wrong. Genville said coldly. By her. He looked directly at Leary. Speak, he said. Tell me why I should believe a human can care for anything but power. Leary stepped forward, not trembling, not hiding. I don't ask you to believe, she said clearly. I only ask you to listen. She pointed to Jace. This human had every chance to use me, to hurt me, to treat me like a prize of war. But he didn't, she continued. He gave me space. Respect, even kindness. He called me Leary when no one else did. Not thing, not slave, but Leary. The room was quiet, even the guards forgot to breathe. And now, she said, her voice cracking, I am not his prisoner. I am his family. Some humans scoffed under their breath, but others looked. Shaken, Genville studied her for a long moment, then turned to Jace. Would you protect her, even against your own people? He asked. Yes, Jace replied without hesitation. Would you die for her? Jace paused only for a second, then nodded. If it meant she could live free, yes. Genville stepped back, and then did something no one expected. He knelt, one knee to the floor, a symbol of respect among his kind. If even one human can see us as equals, he said, then war is no longer the only way. But not everyone agreed. Across the fleet, private channels buzzed. Some officers were furious. They're making us look weak. This is a trick. We can't trust them. And in one dark room, a plan was being made. A secret team of hardliners had already moved. They didn't care about peace. They only cared about control, and they had just armed the drone. Back in the hangar, Leary sat with Aiel and Elder Ruhan, discussing possible terms of a peaceful exchange. Jace stepped aside to report to Admiral Karen. It's working, he said. They're listening. They're open to talks. Karen nodded. You've done more in 2 days than years of treaties ever did. But peace, she warned, makes enemies too. Before Jace could reply, a voice shouted through the comms. Unauthorized drone activity in Bay 9. Jace froze. He turned to the window. A small drone zipped through the hallway toward the alien ship. Armed, target locked, Leary, Jace ran, faster than he had in years. He shoved past guards, screaming, Drone incoming. Get down. The drone entered the bay. Leary turned just in time to see it. Too late to move, but not too late for Jace. He threw himself in front of her just as the drone fired. A loud blast echoed through the hangar, then silence. Smoke filled the air. Leary coughed, blinking through the haze. She looked down. Jace was lying in her arms, blood on his uniform. No, she whispered, her voice breaking. No, no, no. He looked up at her, barely breathing. You're safe, he whispered. Then everything went dark. Soldiers stormed the hangar, shutting down the drone and arresting the saboteurs. But the damage was done. A hero had fallen, and now the galaxy watched to see what Leary would do next. The medical bay was quiet. The machines beeped softly, each one counting seconds that felt like years. Commander Jace Rylan lay still in the healing chamber, wrapped in wires and light. His chest rose and fell barely. Leary sat beside him, unmoving. She hadn't left since they brought him here, not to eat, not to sleep, just to wait. The doctors said he had saved her life by only a second. The drone's energy blast was meant to kill. It would have ended her. But he had thrown himself into its path without hesitation. Why? She kept whispering to him, even though he couldn't hear her. Why would you do that? Outside the medbay, the ship was changing. Word of Jace's sacrifice had spread across the fleet and beyond. Human news networks called him the commander who chose peace. Alien networks called him the protector of one who was broken. The story was no longer just about a war. It was about a man who had changed everything by choosing kindness over command. On board Vanguard 1, Admiral Karen had made her decision. The secret group behind the drone attack had been exposed and arrested. Captain Rivas was among them, and a message was sent both to Earth and to the Alien Council. We seek peace. We seek truth. We seek a future where chains are never used again. Days passed, and one morning, Jace opened his eyes. Leary gasped, her hands flying to his. He looked weak, but alive. "Still here?" he whispered with a tired smile. "You idiot," she said through tears. "You should have let me take the blast." "I couldn't," he whispered. "You're my family," Leary nodded, pressing her forehead gently to his. "And you're mine." Months passed slowly, but everything had changed. For the first time in history, a joint human-alien council had formed. Ambassadors were chosen from both sides, and the first representative from Leary's people was Leary herself. She now stood proudly in a white robe trimmed with blue light, a sign of peace among her kind. Her voice was no longer soft or afraid. She spoke to senators, generals, civilians, all listening to a girl who was once a slave. Jace retired from active command after his injuries, but he didn't disappear. He chose a quiet life on a peaceful human-alien colony named Haven Reach. There, he and Leary lived in a small home surrounded by trees, flowers, and stars above that never stopped shining. But they weren't alone. One day, while Leary was working with refugee children, she met two small alien kids hiding near a collapsed shelter. A sister and brother, skin like silver, eyes wide with fear, much like hers once were. No parents, no home, no trust. But Leary saw herself in them. She reached out her hand, and when they took it, she brought them home. Jace opened the door, confused for a second, then smiled warmly. "More family?" he asked gently. Leary nodded, her eyes full of tears. "Yes," she said. "This time, we choose them." The children didn't speak for weeks, but Jace never pushed. He built them beds with his own hands. He left small toys near their room every morning. He taught them how to plant seeds in the garden, how to mix colors with paint, and how to read simple words in both languages. Slowly, they began to smile again. One evening, as the sun dipped below the alien horizon, the little girl tugged at his sleeve. "Are you our father now?" she asked quietly. Jace kneeled beside her, heart full. "Only if you want me to be," he said. She nodded and hugged him tight. The boy followed, arms wrapping around both, and Leary stood nearby, watching with joy in her heart. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were a family. Years later, a monument was built in the center of Haven Reach, not of a warrior, not of a general, but of two figures, one human, one alien, standing side by side, holding hands. Below them, the words read, "Peace was never gifted, it was chosen." He refused to use what they gave him, and instead, he gave them everything. As stars continued to burn across the sky, and galaxies kept spinning far beyond what anyone could see, one truth remained clear. One man's simple kindness had changed the course of two civilizations. He didn't conquer. He didn't command, he cared, and in doing so, he gave the galaxy something far more powerful than victory. He gave it a future.